Karine Jean-Pierre. Oh man, they're being called insurrectionists now. How is she an insurrectionist? This is going to get spelled out on the Charlie Kirk show. It's darker than you think. It's worse than you think. The Democrats are worse than you think, but that's okay. Trump's going to win. He's going to clean out all this deep state garbage. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Of course, we've had Karine Jean-Pierre's number for a long time. We've been watching him. Whoever thought she was telling the truth, raise your hand. When she says, oh, Joe Biden had a cold at the debate, no one believes her. The border is secure. We've told you over and over again, the border is secure. We've all known it was BS. Now we're allowed to publicly say that we know it's BS, and half the Democrat Party are agreeing, going, you've been fed BS. Here's the tweet from Kanakawa the Great. This is about David Sachs, who was over recently on the Charlie Kirk show. Quote, what we're seeing here is a full-scale insurrection by media elites and other powers that be in the Democratic Party to subvert the democratic process. What do you call that? That's election interference. That's an insurrectionist. Remember the things the Democrats accuse Trump of, they always do.
What we're seeing here is a full-scale insurrection by media elites and other powers that be in the Democratic Party to subvert the democratic process.
How so, David Sachs? Yeah, it's true. Remember, Biden has $200 million of the Democrat money. It'll be handed down to Kamala when they run her.
After all, we had 50 state primary elections in which voters gave Joe Biden all the necessary votes, all the necessary delegates to be the Democratic nominee for president in 2024. And you're seeing now a major effort to prevent the certification of that result.
How many delegates? 1,000 delegates. Democrat Party, they will not play by their own rules. And these rules aren't optional. This is law for them. So when they talk about Trump, changing the election rules and performing an insurrection, just remember, they would do the same thing and they're going to try to get away with it. It's up to their party. I don't care what they do. The Democrat Party can all burn to the ground for all I care. But they're going to get away with it. It's going to become the new white meat. You just wait. They're going to go like, oh, yeah, this is how we do things now. Release the electors. We don't care. The campaign money, spend it wherever you want. We won't follow the rules and hand the presidency down to Kamala Harris. We'll pick someone else up and we'll apologize later.
Playing out in broad daylight in the press. So I don't know what you could call this except for an insurrection.
I will call it an insurrection. That's what it is. Remember, the Democrats are the ones who have just a total, they're on fire for the word insurrection, and they don't want to use it when it actually happens by an unelected oligarchy, the people behind the scenes that are running this country, not the guy the Democrat Party elected, who is Joe Biden.
Well, what democracy really means to them is permanent rule by the Democratic Party, just like communism used to mean permanent rule by the Communist Party. They're perfectly willing to disenfranchise their voters if it means staying in power. And that's exactly the reason why they tried to hide Joe Biden's senility from the country for so long.
They never cared that Joe Biden was never qualified to be in that position. He was never had a cognitive test where he was proven to be okay for that position. They hid that stuff. They didn't care.
What the country is concerned about right now is Joe Biden's competency to do the job. What Democrats or what senior Democrats care about is Joe Biden's electability.
That's right.
This whole thing is about whether Joe Biden can win in November. That's the only reason they're suddenly concerned about his mental condition. He knew it. They knew.
They knew, and they covered it up with cheap fakes. Watch this little sequence here. We have a clip of Karine Jean-Pierre also lying about the cheap fakes. Remember, they went with that. They're saying, you're crazy if you see Biden acting slow. That's a cheap fake. And that's why they're the cheap fakers.
They knew all about Joe Biden's condition for months and years, and they've been hiding that fact. They've been gaslighting about it. They've been accusing anyone who raised questions about it as somehow being, a partisan or a liar. They invented the whole idea of the clean fakes.
The administration strongly criticized the media for clips showing the president appearing to be confused. freezing at times, and you called it cheap fakes, misinformation, disinformation. In one case, even implied that it was the product of artificial intelligence, calling it deep fakes. Do you have any regret over using that language?
Not at all. Not at all. And let me be clear, it was a certain part of the media. And, I mean, you can speak to this better than I can. A certain part of the media which was doing this. And look, independent, mainstream fact checkers in the press and misinformation experts have been calling out cheap fakes.
I like how she says it's a certain part of the media. They didn't say that back in. They didn't say certain part of it. It was like massive, widespread cheap fakes from the right. They were lying.
This has become wildly out of control. And everyday non-political Americans now believe that not only is Joe Biden not fit to it, but the second and more important layer is that we were lied to by our leaders about Joe Biden's mental acuity.
Oh, yeah. Well, what else were they going to do? Tell the truth and have him step down?
It's dangerous for the nation, for the commander in chief to be clearly mentally incapacitated. There was a attempted cleanup job in Axios, which, by the way, now calls the Biden presidency the Biden oligarchy.
Don't believe Axios has turned, though. They're still a Democrat rag.
By the way, if Joe Biden gets the 3 a.m. phone call, no joke, by the way, you have a 6-minute window to respond to hypersonic nuclear missiles, okay? And that is at the longest. What is Joe Biden? Is Joe Biden going to be sentient? And here's the more interesting question, David. Does the military call him?
Well, there's
or do they know better?
Well, it's only nuclear codes.
I think in the view of Democratic Party insiders, the oligarchy, I think that elections and maybe even the presidency is an inconvenience. This is something they would rather not deal with. The fact of the matter is that the way they view the government is you've got this collection of permanent staffers in Washington who run the agencies. They run the Pentagon, they run the State Department. And then every 4 years, you get this new guy at the top who, you know, you can just outwait if he wants to do things you don't like.
If you wait long enough, that guy's going to go away. It's the one weakness in our system.
They feel that they are the government. They are the permanent government. And the elected leaders are just tourists who are kind of this annoyance. And so I think that they view and up till now have viewed Joe Biden's condition as a positive because there's no elected leader to place a check on them, to fire them for incompetence. As Trump pointed out in that debate, they can completely botch the Afghanistan withdrawal. No heads roll ever.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Biden's low poll numbers, they do prefer someone like Biden. It's much easier for the oligarchy to run the country with a guy whose brain is a bowl of soup. They never had a problem with that part of his performance. It's only the unpopularity they had a problem with.
So in their view, they've got the perfect president, and it was perfect for them until the whole country got to see that they didn't have a president at that debate. And now it's Joe Biden's unelectability that poses a huge problem for them.
And it remains a problem. And the Democrat brand has been smeared and tarnished now as just a brand of lying. Never put an X next to a Democrat. Am I right, chat? Never put an X next to any Democrat.
Yeah, not the national security threat, the fact that we actually don't have a president. I love that. They view them as tourists. And yes, basically the role of president under Joe Biden has been reduced down to photo ops with spelling bee champions.
I love that quote so much. And I think that's brilliant of Charlie Kirk. It is true. Biden does more Easter egg hunts, visiting schools, eating ice cream. He's not over there wrestling with Putin like he should be. He's not over meeting with China, negotiating big business deals, trying to push back on their taxes and their corruption. No, he's doing these weird, soft puff pieces, interacting with children, invalid, old people. This because he's not capable of anything else but a photo op. That's not a president. Walking around in that big helicopter, having security, having people salute you and stuff. That is not the president. That's not the important, hard part of the job. He's not leading it. He's not running it. And now everyone knows. And I've never been happier, guys. More Americans have never been this aware of the truth in my lifetime. That's saying something. This is a wonderful, happy moment for the truth. I'm Doug in Exile.